Lazy Moon, Getting Up Later and Later, October 13th, 2011. Now that the full moon is behind us once again, I know that the time of the moonrise is slightly later each day, somewhat equivalent to sleeping in a little later every day. A person who is considered a night owl would likely dream of being able to sleep in a little more every day. To me, it means that I will leave for my walk as late as possible to take advantage of any moonlight I can to brighten my path. Ideally, I shouldn't leave for my walk until midnight because the moon would be much higher in the sky and the trees would not block out the moonlight that falls on the driveway and road. I delay my walk until 9 p.m. Hopefully, the moon will be high enough to provide a fair amount of light for my walk. As I leave, I wonder what thoughts will come to me tonight on my journey. You see, I rarely have any preconception of what I will look for on this journey. I simply take the journey and let it reveal itself to me. As I head east down the hill, there is plenty of light, for the moon is approximately 30 to 35 degrees above the horizon, and just a little to the left of dead ahead. In fact, if I stay left, I am walking in the shadow of the trees along the driveway. Slide over to the right side, and my path is fully lit, so I stay right. I glance up at the moon periodically, enough to enjoy her presence, but not so long as to lose my night vision. As I approach the gate, I pause and soak the moonlight on my face, as though I was trying to get a moon tan. Then bam! It hits me. Suddenly, I am transported back in time, just over 50 years. In the olden days, mid to late October meant harvest time for us on the farm. During September, we would cut the grain with a binder, and bundles would come out to the side to be collected on a carrier, and then dropped in straight rows. Dad always rode on the binder because that was the most difficult task. Walter or Louise would drive the tractor, keeping the binder running just along the edge of the standing grain, so that neither time nor money was wasted in taking too small a swath, or driving into the grain and crushing it with the tractor tires. My older brother Stan and I, along with Mom, would go up and down the rows and pick the bundles up and make them into stooks, effectively little tents, which allow air to flow through the inside to dry the grain, and be constructed with a sloping roof so that if it rained before threshing, then the water would run off the stook. The tractor and binder cut the grain and tied it into bundles much faster than we could stook, so sometimes it meant getting up at 5 a.m. to go stooking until 7:30, then come in for breakfast, and be ready for the school bus shortly after 8 a.m. The real fun began when it was time to thresh the grain. Mitro Harasimiak owned a threshing machine, and all the farmers who wanted their grain threshed would join the threshing crew with a team of horses and a hay rack. Stan and I would stay home from school and join the threshing crew so that our time could be exchanged for the cost of running the threshing machine on our farm. Since we wanted to take advantage of the good weather, we would be up at 6 to feed the horses, have our own breakfast, then harness the horses and be on the field by 7 a.m., just as the first hint of daylight appeared on the eastern horizon. We would pitch bundles until dark, around 7 p.m. It was hard work, but we were farm boys, and hard work never bothered us much. The best part of being on the threshing crew was eating. We would have coffee and goodies brought out to the field mid-morning. Everyone drank coffee with cream and sugar since it all came in one container, ready to drink. At noon, we would unhitch the horses and feed them, then go in for the main meal of the day. Always lots to eat, and so tasty. It was almost like having Thanksgiving dinner every day. Back in the field again until afternoon coffee. And finally bring the horses into the yard, water and feed them, take their harnesses off, and then go into the house for another Thanksgiving meal before going to bed for the night. One thing for sure, not a single one of us suffered from insomnia after putting in a full day on the threshing crew. By the way, working on the threshing crew meant being away from school for 2 or 3 weeks, so that part was fun. What wasn't fun was coming back to school and being totally in the dark about what had to be covered while we were away. The teachers were quite understanding, but they still gave us a hard time if we didn't get our homework done. They knew, along with our parents, that education was the key to not having to do heavy manual labor all our lives. And we can thank them for caring about what happened to us long after we left their classrooms. What does all this have to do with my walk tonight? If we were lucky to be threshing around the full moon, then the moonlight would help us a bit in the early morning and again at dusk. I was always enamored by moonlight, and it seems so special during harvest. So tonight when I paused and glanced up at the moon, memories of threshing flooded my whole being. So I knew that this was my topic to share with you tonight. May you be blessed with a full and peaceful sleep tonight, with no hint of insomnia. When you wake up in the morning, I hope it is just before the alarm and you realized you slept soundly all night, ready to smile at every job that comes your way during the day. Good night, my friends. Roseanne Keurig. How inspiring, John. I remember those days too. They were the good old days. When we changed from horses to tractors, I remember breaking 1 or 2 hitching poles because of turning too sharp. That never happened with horses. Dad would quietly fix it and wait for the next one, but I learned. Then when we went to combines, my greatest thing was pulling into the field, stopping at one end when the combine was at the other end, and laying down on the seat and falling asleep. There would be Dad waving and wondering why I was not coming. I usually woke up just about the time he would end up walking to the truck. Never a harsh word, but I could see the displeasure on his face. Yes, school was missed for a few days, but we survived. Sometimes I would give anything to go back in time, but it is something our kids totally do not understand.